How is everybody? Good?
A little tired.
As usual. Oh, tired of being tired.
Are you?
Don't know what the hell to do about it.
It's just weird. Some days you get in here, you feel like a regular person, and then other days you feel like crap.
Just tired.
Today's one of those I feel tired days. Yesterday I felt like I could run a marathon after the show. It's just weird, man.
Get to bed so early, and sometimes I go right to sleep. I wake up and I'm tired.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't go right to sleep, and I'm still tired. It doesn't matter what time I really go to sleep. I'm just going to be exhausted because it's early.
I was watching The Honeymooners because I got the box set.
Yeah.
The original 39 episodes. And
love it.
And it was like 8 o'clock, and I'm thinking I'll watch a couple episodes of The Honeymooners and then call it a night,
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't keep my eyes open at 8 o'clock at night.
I know. 8 o'clock.
It was the one about, maybe you can help me out, because it was the one about them hiring a maid.
Yes, that's very funny.
Was it funny?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah. What, did you fall asleep during it?
Yeah, off and on.
Yeah.
So I got to rewatch that one, you think?
Oh, yeah. When they go, har, har, when he comes in with the cigar, trying to be a big shot.
Oh, yeah.
Har, har, har.
Har, 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 har.
Big shot, yeah, why don't you? So when he threatens physical violence on his wife. That's great. And then they take the maid home, of course, and she's a big bruiser. You know who that woman is that plays the maid?
No.
She's also in that episode of the Twilight Zone where the Earth is headed toward the sun, and everyone's like kind of burning up, and the woman paints that picture, and the picture melts at the end, and it turns out that she was just like in a coma or sleeping or something, and actually the Earth was going away from the sun, and it was freezing out. That one? Yeah, she was the old broad in that one.
That Twilight Zone crap just used to creep me out, man.
I love the Twilight Zone. I picked up all those, too. I picked up the
Yeah.
entire box set of every Twilight Zone. And you don't realize how many they just don't play on TV. There's hour-long episodes that they really don't play on TV, and there's quite a few of them.
It was just great writing back then,
It really was.
Because they didn't have the special effects and the great acting. It was just all about really, really good storylines that just got into your skull, man.
Some of the acting was
out.
pretty good. I saw one with Robert Duvall in it, and yeah, really good. He's really good. And it was great writing, like you said, Rod Serling wrote a lot of those, and it just really wasn't anything that was happening back then either.
What's your favorite Twilight Zone episode?
God, favorite? Jeez.
Well, one that just sticks out in your mind.
That's a rough one. I actually always liked the one where they were at the diner and there was an alien amongst them, and they couldn't figure it out because there was one too many people when they counted heads for the bus trip that came into the diner, and they were all snowed in, so they couldn't leave because the bridge was going to be washed out or something. And it turned out that there were two aliens in there. One guy was the guy behind the counter, and he took his hat off at the end of the episode, and he had the third eye on his head. And the other guy had the third arm, and he starts smoking a cigarette, and he puts one in his mouth, pulls out the lighter with another hand, and lights it with his third hand.
And why was it bad that they had an alien amongst them?
Well, it was Earth. It was Venus and Mars fighting over who was going to take over Earth. So, we lose either way around it.
Right.
That one was pretty good. I always like the ones where they're going into space, or some space episodes where they have a spaceship with for some reason back then, spaceships on TV shows. What a waste of headroom. You ever notice, like, you see a real spaceship when they started getting into the 60s, and NASA was sending people to the moon. They'd shove people in these capsules, and everything that wasn't taken up by a human was equipment.
Yeah.
But they'd jump in there, and, hello, there's a big echo. Like, above their head is just, they got cathedral ceilings in a spaceship. Like, they don't need any equipment up there.
Hey, that's hilarious. That's
hysterical.
Funny.
I love episodes like that. I love old space stuff from, like, the 50s and 60s.
Waste of headroom.
Yeah.
Even in the old movies, waste of headroom on the airplanes, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, wow, I would love that much room when I fly.
Gee, maybe some of the equipment could have gone up there, We're really not doing these. We're not breaking out a trampoline on this voyage.
Waste of headroom. That's classic. Yeah, they walk into this, it's a room.
Big echoey room, a couple of dials on the wall and stuff, some bad impractical seating, and then just this a ceiling way up as high as you can see it.
That's very funny.
Yeah. Oh, another one I liked was The Old Man in the Mountain. It was the one where there was a nuclear war, which is always a great setting for a Twilight Zone, when the post-apocalyptic episode. And there was a guy that used to go up to the mountain and come down with information on whether food was contaminated, where they should plant food, if they should go in because it's going to rain soon. And then James Coburn pulls into town with some army buddies and just screws the whole thing up. He's a tough guy, you know. Then starts beating on the people and taking the women and just saying, who's this old man in the mountain? Screw him. Let's eat the food. What are you doing? Because they had the contaminated food and booze in a building. So they broke out all the booze and drank and stuff and go up in the mountain and decide they're going to meet the old man. It turns out to be a computer. This big boop, 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 boop with lights and stuff. Computers in those old shows are great, too. Just lights and tapes whirling back and forth and stuff. And it's supposed to be the future, you know.
Yeah.
The future, 1975.
Yeah.
75, Rod. Come on, you should have pushed this thing up a few more years.
Blinking lights and tape being spit out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Spaceships flying, and it's like, you know, this is the year 1995. Ooh, it is. Really, Rod? Kind of didn't happen.
They missed it by a little bit.
Flying cars, which we never had. They have a few of those episodes. What year is that? Oh, it's 83. Yeah, sure, Rod. Okay.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just write it 2000, I don't know, 2100? Yeah, Lost in Space was 1990.
97 and 98.
97, 98 it was supposed to be.
Oh,
Jupiter 2 taking off. Yeah, no, nothing. No flying saucers. We can't even get a shuttle that could work for a few years running without blowing up.
Yeah, but we got that thing that took off yesterday. That thing.
Thing that's going to crash into the comet?
Are we insane?
We love doing crazy
stuff. Are we
stuff.
sure this is going to be okay? It's not going to, like, set off some kind of, like, chain reaction in the universe?
The scientists insist it's okay.
You sure?
I guess so.
Can't it start some kind of weird space tsunami thing?
You would think, maybe.
I don't know.
Well, they're starting to get a little creepy with stuff because they're bringing stuff back. There was one ship that went up. NASA sent it up, and it collected dust off a comet's tail and then brings it back to Earth. And that's a little creepy, especially since this thing crashed in the desert. The chutes didn't open. It was supposed to be grabbed by an airplane that was flying over, and the whole recovery system failed. And this thing just crashed into the desert. And I guess the case that was holding this little wafer thing that picked up these particles from a comet was exposed to the atmosphere. You start thinking, what are we bringing this crap back? But that's what the atmosphere is for, to burn this crap up before it gets to us. And they're bringing stuff back.
They could be bringing back some kind of space disease.
You know, you ever see Andromeda strain? Same thing. You could all get powder for blood. Creepy. They had that one ship now you were talking about that went into it just launched, I guess, and they're sending this probe to crash into the comet. To get it's called Deep Impact, and they're gonna.
Oh, I saw that movie.
Yeah, the movie was great. I guess it was good enough to name a real satellite after.
Yeah.
We humans love doing the movie real life thing. You know, yeah, it worked in a movie. It was really cool. So let's
seem like it worked in the movie. Let's give it a shot.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Why not?
So they're firing this thing at this comet, and because they want to see what's inside the comet for some reason. And people are saying, well, what if it shifts the orbit and kind of starts heading towards Earth. Oh, no, it won't happen. We don't think it. If it does divert the comet in any way, it'll be such a small amount that no one blah, blah, blah. I don't know, maybe it's stuff we shouldn't really screw in.
I think you got to trust the eggheads, though.
Yeah?
Yeah, the eggheads got a whole different thing going on than us.
Yeah. I guess what they said was they need to know what's inside the comet so that if ever a comet is heading toward Earth, they know what they're dealing with. And I thought we took care of that with Ben
No, you know
Affleck
what it
and
is?
The drilling crew.
Yeah,
right?
There you go.
We'll just do that again.
You know what it is? Those scientists in NASA, they're just bored.
Well, yeah.
What fun stuff can we do? Well, we'll build a little thing and land it on Mars and let it ride around a little bit.
Drive around.
Yeah, that was fun for about a month. Okay, now let's let's blow up comets. Let's drill into comets.
The shuttle's still down? All right, let's start shooting crap into comets.
Yeah, they're just bored down there.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
The heyday of that whole thing was the
is
60s.
it really that important to do a deep impact into a comet?
It's no one small step for man. Let's just put it that way. The heyday was the 60s and 70s, as far as NASA and
we didn't really land on the moon, though.
Space travel goes. Oh, you're one of those conspiracy theorists?
Well, because the flag was, blowing in the wind, and there's no wind on the moon.
You talk to people that are adamant about this, that we never actually went to the moon. And
that was the one
fake.
but that was the one thing that freaked me out, because I've been on some of those websites, like, hey, agree. He makes a good point. The flag was blowing in the wind.
But it wasn't. It was just it was when he put it into the soil, he was shaking it. And the thing is on some kind of a little hinged arm because there's no wind to actually hold the flag up. And as he was moving it, it started moving. And when you leave it alone, there's no real wind resistance or anything to stop it from moving. It's momentum, and eventually it stops, but it looks like it was shaking in the wind. Then there's shadows. They go, look, one shadow's going one way, one shadow's going the other way.
Well, because the lighting guy, messed up.
Right, on the set of the moon, the moon set. But then they showed pictures of Earth. They showed a picture of an intersection and say, look, this is what happens. One shadow looks like it's going one way, one's going the other way because of a slight incline in the road, your position relative to the thing that's casting the shadow. So it was all dispelled. Really, you got to be a real kook to think we didn't go to the moon. That more than 3 people can get together with a conspiracy and actually keep it and hold it together for so many years. That's the most incredible part of any conspiracy, is that anytime you have a group of more than 3 people, that they could actually keep this thing going. The moon, you know how many people it would take to fake it? And they all just said, all right, shh, hey, remember that time? 2 of the old NASA guys years later in a bar. Remember when we did that moon thing? Yeah, shh, on the QT. Yeah, no, I didn't tell anybody. No one did. We're all so cool.
You'd want to tell someone eventually.
Of course. A deathbed confession, something.
I love the deathbed confessions.
No one fessed up. Well, Jimmy brought up the one the other day about the Loch Ness Monster.
There's always a deathbed confession that comes out every once in a while.
That wrecked it for me. I was, as a kid growing up, I was so into that, the UFOs and Nessie and Bigfoot, and you get the books and look at all the pictures of UFOs and stuff.
What was that show when we were growing up, In Search Of?
In Search Of.
That was a great one, man.
Leonard Nimoy narrated that one.
Didn't Rod Serling do a show similar for a while, or did he voice any of those? No?
He used to do the narration for Jacques Cousteau.
Okay,
Still in the men of the Calypso, descended
That's
to
right,
a
that's right. That's what I was
thinking. Yeah,
thinking.
that was great stuff.
Yeah, but that was In Search of some creepy stuff, too.
Yeah. I used to watch those all the time.
But In Search of Bigfoot was great.
Like 8 channels to deal with. Of course you watched it.
In Search of Bigfoot, In Search of the Loch Ness Monster.
Oh, I love that. They'd show that stupid film of the guy on horseback and Bigfoot walking by, and they'd freeze it right when Bigfoot turned his big hairy head. He was a big bear with a sweet face, Bigfoot, wasn't he?
Cozy creature.
What a cozy, sweet creature. Little flame shoes on. If you look close, zoom in, enhance the picture.
Yeah. Let's go to Max in Dallas. Hey, Max, good morning.
What's going on, guys?
We're kind of waking up here for you.
Kind of a Twilight Zone buff myself. I was reading somewhere that Rod Serling did the majority of the writing for the show. But what's really weird is he didn't actually write it. He recorded it on a tape recorder.
Yeah.
And usually he was kicked back in a lounge chair by the pool.
Yeah, he would record it all on a tape recorder and then give the tape to his secretary who would transcribe everything he said.
Oh, wow.
I was curious, too. You guys have seen that movie Heavy Metal, I'm sure, the old cartoon.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Stoned many times at the Northport Theater watching that one.
You know the part where the guy's chasing him around the space station going, "Stern, I'll kill you." I just thought that'd be pretty funny audio for the show. But
I don't remember that one.
Out later.
All right, thanks, Max. Yeah, we'll try to get that audio.
They got some great behind-the-scenes stuff and extra footage, because you need that whenever you sell a DVD for the Twilight Zone collection. Got a lot of candid stuff. They have Rod Serling actually pitching the idea for the show The Twilight Zone to the networks on video, on film. And it's him really talking from the heart about the show and the writing and the actors. And it was before the first pilot episode, I guess. And what a genius that guy was. Always smoking, though, on that set. Whenever they'd do that little cut that they would do, they'd do the beginning of the show, set up the creepiness, and then all of a sudden it's, Rod's in the bushes somewhere. And, man, he always had that butt.
Who didn't smoke back then, though?
Everyone
was smoking.
They were showing a show. On the DVD, the whole DVD collection, they got Rod Serling doing an interview, and it might be David Susskind. I'm not sure who it was. But the set looked like an old 80s rock band was on stage. You couldn't see them. You could not see the guy interviewing and Rod Serling. They both were smoking.
You thought it was a smoke machine?
Heavily. It's like, how could people watch this back then?
That's classic.
They were in a fog. In a fog. It's hysterical to watch.
The good old days when they used to smoke on TV.
Oh, the old Tonight shows, because I got that box set, too. The old Johnny Carson's.
Is that good?
Yeah, really cool. So I love the old nostalgic stuff. I love old television, and you get this Tonight Show stuff and watch from the 60s, 70s, with the big wide lapels and the colorful, ridiculous Tonight Show set.
And the glasses of scotch.
And Jimmy Stewart's coming out and Bob Hope and Mel Torme, and they're all talking about Vegas and all that crappy cliche Hollywood stuff. It's great, and they're all smoking and drinking. Got Dean Martin coming out with Bob Hope, and they got scotch in a glass with ice, and they sit down and they're drinking booze and smoking on television. And these were the guys that were the heroes, the cool guys.
Let's bring that back.
Bring it back. You want to?
Let's start doing our show.
Drinking and smoking? Wait a minute, that was our NEW show.
Yeah, what are we talking about? We just didn't have the goofy sports jackets.
And we tried the drinking approach here, but it doesn't really work this early in the morning.
Yeah.
Usually police get involved.
Well, rumor has it, sure.
Rumor does have it.
That may have happened. I don't know.
That was quite a time in television. They didn't care. It wasn't like everyone was up in arms. Now, they're trying to get smoking taken out of movies, which I think is ridiculous. There are characters in movies that their character would smoke. It's this guy would smoke. It doesn't mean, look, kids smoke.
Mm-hmm.
The guy wrote it for a guy that smokes. People smoke in real life. And for some reason, these anti-smoking groups now we don't want smoking on the big screen because kids watch it and they're influenced. And just shut up. It's a character that's being written by someone, and again, it's these stupid groups getting involved to screw with people's art, But back then, no one cared. It was a thing everyone did on talk shows and movies, on television shows. Not anymore. You rarely see a character that smokes on TV.
And they weren't worried about saying the one wrong thing that was going to ruin their career because some corporate faggot was going to become offended or some group was going to protest. They just spoke freely. It was great back then.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Mike. Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Pretty good, bro.
By the way, Jim, I just wanted to tell you real quick, I think you're one of the most original things going on in comedy right now. And
thanks, Mike.
Anyway, whatever that's worth. I wanted to call and talk about a documentary I saw probably 3 or 4 months ago regarding the moon landing and some of the theories about whether it really happened or not. And a couple of things that I saw in there that I don't recall you mentioning were, you know how when you look at these lunar photos that they took and you see the crosshairs, and I don't really recall what the purpose of the crosshairs was, but there are a couple photos where the crosshairs are actually covered up by objects appearing in the photos. For instance, a flag covers part of a crosshair in one. That's pretty interesting. I'm not saying that we didn't go to the moon, but it's a nice little bit of conversation material. And also, there's no blast crater.
Yeah, there actually is a blast crater. It's not a crater because it wasn't enough thrust to make a crater, but you could see the dust from the surface was actually blown away.
Is that the case? I didn't.
Yeah, and the thing about the crosshairs.
Yeah, explain that.
Those are actually superimposed onto the photos to give you scale, so they know.
But if they are superimposed on top of the photos, how could it be that an object within the photo is superimposed over the? I don't want to use. That's not the correct word to use. But how could it be that an object in the photo appears over the top of a crosshair?
Yeah, they actually explain that too. It had something to do with the way the film was developed. They actually had. I read the whole site and they had explained that one too. If you do like moon landing conspiracy search, just put moon landing conspiracy in Google.
I don't think it's so me.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of answers to those things. It's really ridiculous for anyone to think that we didn't go to the moon. You ever see Capricorn 1?
I don't want to say we didn't go to the moon because I think we likely did, but the people that think we did not go to the moon, there's a pretty valid reason for saying that
there really isn't. No, they'll tell you that there is, but there's so much proof and everything is explained, and it's not explained in a cornball way. It's explained, It's like, oh, okay. And it's scientists explaining why this happens as opposed to the other side, which is some conspiracy kook explaining why it didn't happen,
I agree, but at the same time, we had a Cold War to win, and part of the reason, or part of the means by which a lot of people saw the Cold War to be won was to show ourselves or prepare ourselves to have gone to the moon.
And don't you think if we didn't, that the Russians would do everything they could to discount us actually going to the moon? Don't you think they didn't have anything against us going to the moon, you know?
Absolutely. I agree with you there. But another thing that a lot of these conspiracy theorists cite in their laundry list of evidence is that the scenery and the moon photos and the videos that was taken back and shown to the people. I'm sorry, I've been driving all night. I'm tired.
That's all right.
It looks a lot like the high desert in Nevada. I mean, as a matter of fact, it looks exactly like it. But at the same time, it's dirt.
It's dirt and rocks. That's what the moon's made of.
Well,
I don't know.
Sir, the problem was that the whole theory of the fourth astronaut lurking behind the sandy dune was really never discounted, but it was kind of speculated on.
Yeah, but you know, another thing that's interesting that people say, well, how could it be that a theory of a conspiracy of this magnitude could ever be kept secret? Because I mean, just thousands of people that literally worked on the project, someone would have to have spoken. But a lot of the theorists that believe in this crap say, well, that's very true, but at the same time, the method by which NASA operated at that time, and I guess it is saying today, everything was very compartmentalized and departmentalized. So you would have a select group of people performing one function, not knowing what the other group of people is doing.
Oh, so they actually think we went to the moon too?
Yeah, sure. And
crazy.
They theorized that it would only be a very small, select number of people who would have to be aware of the fact that we indeed did not go to the moon. I think a lot of crap, but at the same time, I don't think Oswald was the lone gunman. So you got to sit and think about it for at least a couple of minutes.
Yeah. It makes for some fun discussion.
Yeah, it's fun, but, you know.
All right, Mike, thank you.
Well, before you let him go, dude, don't go yet. Because there was that one question about whether we went or not. People were saying that while he was supposed to be on the moon, Armstrong was seen walking around his neighborhood and going to NASA every day.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
This is what makes Jim's comedy so brilliant. Thanks, Mike.
See you guys.
All right. They'll get it on the replay when he's awake. Let's go to Steve in New Hampshire before we take a break. Steve, what's going on today?
Hey, guys. Hey, Honey Bunny.
How you doing, Steve?
Hey, you were talking about smoking in the 60s. A friend of mine back in the 80s had this old videotape. It was all old TV commercials.
Yeah.
And there was a great one with the Flintstones for Winston.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that.
Like
Fred and Barney.
Getting away from the women and, like, sneaking behind the stone wall for a butt.
Yeah. Hey, Winston is smooth, Fred.
Yeah.
That fresh taste of Winston cigarettes, Barney. It was like, and it was a real commercial. How did they get, it was imagine trying to get a cigarette commercial on a cartoon.
like
SpongeBob SquarePants
or something.
Yeah, having a cigarette.
All right, punching out, guys.
Well, that wouldn't work because you can't smoke in the water.
No cigarette ads. I actually, as a real little kid, I remember seeing cigarette ads on TV before they pulled them off. I'd rather fight than switch, Tarryton ad, and Doral.
Can we find those?
Taste me. Come on and taste me. Take a puff and let me do my stuff.
We got dude. We got a master computer here at XM Satellite Radio. We might be able to find this type of thing.
It's the old man in the mountain computer.
Yeah,
it's whirling tapes and lights.
This computer is ridiculous. We might just be able to find it.
Yeah.
Old smoking commercials.
Nice.
There has to be a line, I think, between like years ago where they just didn't care about your health at all.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a point to like how wrong that is on cartoons, and just these idiots overprotecting you by not allowing it in films.
Oh, they would. And if you go back even further. Cigarette ads were that they were healthy for you. It was like for doctors say for an agitated throat, they would say, smoke cigarettes.
We got a project for our guys. Yeah, we got to find these old commercials. Yeah, without a doubt. Well, the problem is, Anthony has mentioned many times, you can't give up any of your rights because then you give up this. It's like it's no big deal, and then they go for a little more and a little more and a little more and a little more.
Yeah. The smoking thing on TV, I don't know. As far as the commercials go, I have a hard time because I'm really for everything. I like everything being available and presented to people to make their own decisions. Sure. But them pulling cigarette ads off of TV, that might have been a good idea. That seems to be kind of an evil that could really be done away with. The
tobacco companies, I think, kind of did themselves in. And I'm not being a self-righteous ex-smoker, but they did lie for a long time. So it's kind of hard to be like, hey, we're a legal product. It's like,
and they're still saying, look, There's no real concrete proof that. Come on.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad for you.
Yeah, that
you know,
basketball on your lung is a coincidence.
I mean, you got all those old Hollywood types that were doing the commercials for cigarettes years ago. They would all do them, and they all died of cancer. You know, all those guys.
John Wayne.
John Wayne was huge with the cigarette ads. You know, and dead.
He didn't make it. Duster wants in as far as the moon conspiracy thing goes. Duster.
Yeah.
Real fast, because we got to take some kind of break here.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out about the whole going to the moon thing, you know, if we ever did go, why didn't we go back?
We went back from Apollo 11 to Apollo 17.
And then Apollo 13, they were supposed to do the moon landing, and they had those problems.
Oops.
What about now?
I don't think there's really, to be honest with you, my guess is there's really nothing we need from the moon that we can't get with a probe.
It was finances back then, too.
Yeah.
No one was really interested in going to the moon anymore. They actually had one more schedule. They were going to do Apollo 18 to the moon, but they ran out of money. So they wound up doing that little Apollo-Soyuz meeting with the Russians up there for some Cold War rah-rah, look, we're friends thing. That must have been interesting.
And it probably went into the space station and all the other things they've been working. That's probably where most of the financing went. I don't think anybody cares about going to the moon.
Hello, Apollo. Now you dock your crappy American rocket ship up to us. We open hatch and say hello. Try not to kill us with your inferior equipment when we dock, please. Because everyone knows Russian ship is so much better than American crappy, lousy rocket ship. Please not to be bumping into our rocket with your bad piloting skills that you lack because you're stupid American. Not great pilot like Russia.
Those awful Russian ships. They just looked like septic tanks with rockets strapped to them.
No design whatsoever.
Oh, no
panache. We were in Washington, and I think they had a Russian...
They did. They had a Soyuz spacecraft in the... We went to the Air and Space Museum.
It just looked awful.
And it's just this big round thing.
It looked like a trailer.
Look how durable our rocket ship is.
It looked like a trailer with, like, booster rockets.
Yeah, it's it. It looked like one of those old 50s-style trailers you hook up to a truck.
It looked awful. All right.
Very practical.